two hosts, Carlos and Dylan.
What's up, guys? We're back with another preview of this time the LSU game with my co-host Dylan Oliver of Sports Illustrated and High Tops Dave Solder.
Oh, hold on. There we go.
How you doing, guys?
Good, man. Fighting Atlanta traffic on the way home, but other than that, I'm nestled really nice here in the man cave, as you see behind me, and I'm ready to talk some Gator football, man. Let's go. Yeah, I saw the intro, and I was like, man, we got to get an intro like that for our show, man. That pumped me up a little bit.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Guys, what are your expectations for the LSU game? Dylan, you can take it first, then Dave.
Yeah, I mean, it's an exciting one. I think I was a little more excited before last week, that's for sure. But I'm still excited. I think my expectations are that, we need to keep it close if we want this season to be any type of success. So I expect them to keep it close. I expect it to be a really good game. I think you look at the past couple of years, it's always been a really good game. So I'm excited. I think it needs to be a close game, but I'm not expecting too much after last week.
How about you, Dave?
Yeah, man. You look at the history of this game, especially Florida going to Baton Rouge. It's not been in their luck range, I guess. The last time Florida won in Baton Rouge was, I believe, in 2009 when Tim Tebow and Riley Cooper. I think it was a close score, 13-3 was the final score of that game. So that just goes to show you how hard it is to win in Baton Rouge, because that team was still loaded, even though it was missing Percy Harvin and some other pieces. Florida still pulled off the victory, but it was only a 10-point victory. Coming into this game, I think Florida, like Dylan said, you have to keep it close. Florida's offense right now should be running on all cylinders with all the wide receivers they have. Unfortunately, we watched the game last week against USF. They only scored 16 points. Got to score a lot more points than that. DJ Lagway, not looking like the Lagway of last year. I don't know why. I don't know if there's something mentally going on there. Of course, we know he didn't have spring camp, fall camp that much either. So maybe he is a little rusty. There's a little dirt there. But, as far as I go, I think you definitely got to keep the score close, especially, looking at some of the games that they had with Clemson. And Nussmeier, he was a Heisman finalist before the season. He hasn't looked that great so far. They did have to replace some of their running backs, but of course they did get a couple of transfers in from the portal, the center and the right guard there, and it looks like the center looks like he's taking first team reps right now, as a report just came out. So it looks like the center will be the starting center will be there available for the game as well. But you do get Caleb Banks back there as well for the game, so that should really help Florida's defensive line there. But I think if you really keep that game close, you get pressure on Nussmeier, I think Florida can actually come off and pull out the victory. Of course, now you can't turn the football over. I would say limit turnovers. And look, we have a dog on special teams right now by the name of Vernell Brown III. He is one heck of a kick returner too. So I think Florida can make some noise in the special teams, but also on the other side, they got Barry and Brown returning kicks as well. So it's going to be a battle of the Browns on special teams, kick and punt return as well. So I think Florida just needs to keep that game close. And if they can keep the game close, get some pressure on Nussmeier, make him make some mistakes, I think Florida can come out with a victory.
Do you guys believe that the coaching staff may be not telling us the complete status of DJ Lagway, because he doesn't look like DJ Lagway at all?
Go ahead, Dylan.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it, you said it. He doesn't look like the DJ Lagway of last year. I don't know if you can really say it's because the injuries are being hidden right now. I think it's more of just he missed all of the offseason. And, we tried to say it doesn't matter. He's taking mental reps. He's getting better. But I think these past 2 weeks you've seen that was huge, that he missed those games. So I'm not, there yet saying that he's still hurt. But there's definitely something up. And I'd love to see him come into LSU and be more comfortable. And, hopefully this week of practice has got him there. He's definitely not been himself, though. And I think that off season where he missed, all those practices, all those weeks is really catching up to him. So it's troubling, but I still think, we've seen him put it out there. I mean, even last week, he didn't have the game that he wanted to, but he looked good. There was throws that he made that were elite and he's still a true sophomore. So I think that, I can't say that there's an injury per se, but I definitely do think the rust is still there.
Yeah, I have had separate thoughts on that. I know a lot of people I've talked to, and of course, when you look on the television screen, it looks like DJ's gotten a little bit slower when he runs, right? And a lot of people will say, well, he gained 10 pounds in the offseason, he's 250. I've seen a lot of wide receivers gain more than 10 pounds and they don't lose a step. And I personally, you hear about the calf injury before the season. We don't know how severe that calf injury was. You heard about the shoulder. DJ looks a lot slower. Now, this isn't based on any inside info. This is me just assuming. I think he's still a little bit hurt and they're not saying anything. And that's fine. That's cool. If he's capable of playing, he played hurt last year. We saw what he could do there, sitting in the pocket and all that. And maybe there is something a little bit there. And maybe he's just not as hurt to where he can still play and deliver the football. I think not taking as many deep shots this year is a little concerning because you heard about the shoulder injury. Is there a shoulder injury still there to where he can't really take that many deep shots? Or is it just the fact that he's just not doing it and they're not calling that play? We just don't know. It's just an assumption and us assuming and rumors right now. But I don't like to kind of throw that out there, but it's also just what I think. So I like to be true and I like to be honest to people. But I think if Florida can get DJ Lagway in a rhythm, I think if you start out quick, you score a touchdown, you give him some confidence, I think really you'll start to probably see the old Lagway come back to effect. Now, of course, as we said, he didn't have a lot of time during the offseason to get familiarity with some of the new guys that are on the team, but he has played with a lot of these guys before. Hayden Hansen, Aiden Mazzell, all those other guys. So there is some familiarity there. But of course, when you add in new blood, you add in new wide receivers, there is going to be some time away that they didn't get to have in the offseason, and that can cause some issues with is the wide receiver going to run? He's running this route, but when is he going to cut? And what can he do? And we kind of saw that in the USF game a little bit. You saw that pass to Vernell Brown, and actually that wasn't on DJ Lagway. Vernell Brown should have caught that. That would have been first and probably would have sealed the game as well. But in that situation, I would have rather ran the ball, but that's null and void. But I think DJ, if you can give him some confidence early, I think he can really settle in.
Meaning the Gators, if the Gators are struggling, would you pull them and put TJ in there? Because, TJ has a similar skill set. And I know this question wasn't on the questions I sent you, but it kind of bounces off what we just said. So, if I'm Billy Napier, I'm about to lose my job, and you're struggling, and you need to keep up with LSU, I'm pulling my star quarterback.
Yeah, Dave, you could take this one a little more because, on the recap, we kind of talked about it.
Yeah.
I'll just sum up what I said. I think that, you stick with DJ as long as you can. He's such a talented quarterback. He's your guy. This offense is built around him. I don't think you ever give up on DJ Lagway, but,
I'm not saying give him up, but you're about to lose your job.
I get what you're saying, Carlos. I don't see a world where it happens, but I do think that Trammell has shown you that you have a really good backup option in case you decide that DJ isn't physically fit out there. You can go, Dave.
Yeah, I think that you kind of draw a fine line with sitting DJ Lagway because the fact of you brought him in here, you paid him all this NIL money, he has these endorsements, he has most of Gator Nation behind him. I think you're drawing a fine line, especially if you sit him for the rest of the year, he's just going to want to go and transfer and go somewhere else, right? He wants to start. He wants to play football. Now, I will say if DJ happens to be struggling in a game, and we've discussed this a little bit too on High Top, why not maybe sit him out for a series, bring in Trammell Jones and let him cool down, get his mind right into where he can come back in. I don't see an issue with that. You can sit a starting quarterback, leave him out for a series or even maybe two, let him get his head back together, bring him back out there. And usually sometimes that works. Sometimes a quarterback just needs a breather. They need to get their head right and get it back in the game. I don't see no problem with that. But at the end of the day, I think DJ is the guy you need to stick with because this was your prized quarterback that you brought in. And, there's a little bit of sense of loyalty there as well. And I think that you should just stick and ride with DJ Lagway the rest of the way. Now, if he's struggling, like I said, you throw Trammell in for maybe a series or two and let him come back out.
Give me 5 keys to the game, guys.
5 keys to the game. Oof. I think number one, and I'm pretty sure, everyone knows it by now, run the dang ball. Jalen Law is such a talented running back. You got to get him going early. Number 2, I would say, Dave mentioned it a little, getting on track with your wide receivers. I think we haven't seen nearly enough J. Mike this year. I think, Eugene Wilson, we saw a little more downfield from him in week 2. So that was awesome. But I think, you got to see more from him. VB3 obviously has been a huge factor. So I think, getting your wide receivers going will be huge. Number 3, Dave also mentioned this earlier, pressure. I think last year, a big reason why we were able to come away with that game is we got a lot of pressure on Nussmeier. And Nussmeier is such a great quarterback that you can't let him just sit back there and have all the time to dissect your defense. LSU has so many weapons where that's tough. So I think getting pressure. Number 4, I would go secondary, because personally, I still think that our secondary, coming into the year, I thought that was the biggest question mark of our whole team. And they haven't really been tested too much. I mean, first you have Long Island who runs the ball, every play. They run the triple option, so you don't see them tested there. And then USF, they had a couple big plays, but we really played drop coverage most of the time. I felt like we were letting them have the short yardage. And, I mean, we saw when they tested them on that 77-yard touchdown, I don't think Florida was necessarily set up right on that play. I think they're a little out of it, but I think it'll be huge to see our secondary, how they play against so much talent. Lastly, I think, we talked about it a lot. It kind of goes with the number 2 I said, but just DJ Lagway getting comfortable, getting confident. If he goes out there and, he has a successful drive 1 where they execute, last week we saw it. They got down to the red zone. They had a ball go right through Tony Livingston's hand. That drive ends in 3 points. They don't execute.
Yep.
I think this week you need, a strong first drive to tell yourself we can play in this game. Not a lot of people see it, but we can play in this game. And so I think, drive 1 with DJ Lagway will be really important.
I'm going to bounce off that, then I'll let Dave go off.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say first drive of each half, because first drive of the game is scripted. So Napier's good at scripted drives. So I want to see the second half drive too.
See, you want 2 scripted drives. You want one at halftime and then one at the beginning of the game, right?
Okay, then 3. Give me 3 good drives. One non-scripted.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, speaking of drives, I think that's what you should do. You should finish drives, and this is one of the keys to the game. It's like last week, we saw USF, and Florida was getting to the red zone, and they weren't successful in the red zone. They had to kick field goals. You got to turn those field goals into touchdowns. Now, they did do a good job against LIU in the red zone, but it is LIU. This is LSU. It's a different story. So I think finishing the drives, getting touchdowns instead of field goals, and it's like what Dylan said, pressure. Sat, Banks are coming back. LSU replaced a lot on their offensive line. Now, they did bring in a couple of transfers, as I said, at center and right guard, but I think if you can really get pressure on Nussmeier, and I think Clemson was able to get some of that on him too and rattle him a little bit, I think you can have a little bit of success with him and limit the big plays. Last year, when we played LSU, they would get to 3rd down or they get to 4th down, they would convert, but the defense bent and they didn't break. Limit those big drives. Limit those drives that will tire down your defense. Limit the big plays and also win the turnover battle. I mean, Florida last year created turnovers against LSU, and that helped them out. And in that game, it was, I believe the score, it was pretty close, right? And then they had that big run from Jaden Ball at the end to kind of seal the game. And, I think the turnover battle, cut the penalties out. You had 11 penalties last game against USF. I think if you cut down on the penalties, you don't spit on players. I think you'll have a better day, especially it'll set you up in better position to score points and better field position as well. And look, I mean, there's no point in taking risks, right? You get the 4th down, maybe you do take a risk or 2. And Napier loves those trick plays when it's like 3-3 and 6-6. And you know what? Hey, maybe you get lucky on a 4th down and, you don't want to settle for 3. You want to go for 7. And even if you don't get it, you pin them back in their backfield anyway. But at least you try to get 7 instead of 3. Now, of course, if the game is close, you probably want to kick the field goal there. But I wouldn't be opposed to maybe rolling out one trick play they don't expect, but none of these like triple reverse play action. Like, I don't want to see any of that kind of stuff. I want to see something like a Dan Mullen-esque trick play. I'm sure Billy Napier can sit down and come up with one quick trick play instead of like these wild freaking things that we've seen all over the field. So I think, finishing third downs, getting, converting third downs, and as he said, run the ball, right? Like, if you can run Jaden Ball, I mean, this kid's averaging 7.3 yards per carry right now. He completely took it to USF on that first drive. I think he averaged over 11 yards per carry when that first drive against USF. And I think that, Jaden Ball's due for a good year. And I think that's going to be one of your key players in this game, especially if you're trying to wear down that LSU defense and you're trying to score. I think Jaden Ball is going to be really, really key in that third and fourth quarter.
Yeah, just to go off of what Dave said.
Okay, go ahead.
I felt like in that USF game that Florida needed to be a little more aggressive. I mean, you mentioned going for it on fourth down a little bit. Napier mentioned, I think it was the third drive of the first half. He had a 2-down mindset on third down. They ran the ball. They got stuffed. It was still 4th and 3, I think, and they settled for the field goal. I'd really love for in a game like this where you're a huge underdog, not necessarily in the books. I think it's like -5, but not a lot of people think you're going to win this game. I'd really love to see more aggressiveness out of Florida. I think, settling for so many field goals, especially against a USF team that wanted to keep you in a dogfight, kind of allowed them to sneak it out at the end. I think this week, it would be huge to see, say we get down in the red zone and it's 4th and 4, 4th and 3. I'd love to see Florida, say, backs against the wall, let's go out there and let's, run our best play and get the first down instead of settling for what we saw last week was, our whole problem is we settled for so many field goals and then we ended up scoring, 14 points?
Yeah.
One of the few problems I have with Napier's calling is that he doesn't stay with the hot hand. He'll give Ball 3 or 4 runs, and then there comes Jacoby. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? Stay with the hot hand, Napier.
Yeah.
If Ball's running people over, leave him on there until he tells you he wants to leave and go to the sidelines. Because we say run the ball, but he doesn't run the ball. He runs the ball 3 plays, and then he's gone.
Yeah. Look, I understand that, like, if you put a running back in there, they're going to need a little bit of rest. You bring in the other guy. I mean, you always rotate running backs, but you give the primary, the reception to the running back. You always give your main running back most of the run, but I'm with it, though. Like, say if Ball is just having a bad game and Jacoby Jackson's just running all over the field, you keep him on the field. And I think you always go with a hot hand, and I think that's something that Napier hasn't done recently, hasn't done very well in his tenure. And he also, when he runs a play and LSU or any other team can't, defend it, he doesn't go back to that same play and he doesn't keep running that play. I mean, 100%. I've watched Florida LSU play so many times, and you know what really gets LSU all the time? It's the option toss run. Every single time there's an option toss run, they cannot defend it.
Yeah. Do you guys expect a big play from BB3 in terms of a punt return?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the way he's been returning them in the last 2 games, I think you have to expect that. He's such a dynamic playmaker back there, something that Florida has not had in so long. I made a tweet about it. The second longest return in 6 years, I think, for Florida.
Yes.
So, I mean, he's such a talented player. I think he either gets it done in special teams or he gets it done on offense. I think they really tried to get him involved last week. So I'm excited to see what he does.
Guys, one of you, can you give me the update on the injury report?
I don't have the injury report on me right now.
You have it with you, Dylan?
I'll grab it. I checked it out. I think Dave mentioned it earlier. Caleb Banks, from what it seemed like, he's good to go. He's good. He wasn't even on the report. Other than that, I believe Dallas Wilson was on there. He's out. I think Michael Caraway was someone I saw that was out. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of huge impactful guys. I don't know, Dave, if you remember any other ones, but I think Caleb Banks was the big news.
I got the cheat sheet in front of me now. Now, Trayon Webb, he's been out. We already know he's been out for a long time. Yeah. Of course, Dallas Wilson, you heard about him. LJ McCray, he's getting surgery on his broken foot, so he's going to be out. Michael Carraway, which Dylan just said. Tight end Scott Isaacs, not really a starter or anything, but he is on the injury list. And, of course, Fletcher Westfall, I believe, still has a wrist injury there, too. So, but that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the people that are on the out list for Florida. Now, of course, they're going to come out with new ones and all that, so we don't know if there's going to be questionable or probable on those, but as of right now, those are the players that are just listed as out, and there's no questionable or probable for anybody else.
What's going on with Dallas Wilson? I know it's an ankle, but we see him with a boot. Is it more than just a twisted ankle and they don't want to say anything?
Dylan will know more about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too sure. I know, from someone I know very well, I won't put him out there, saw Dallas Wilson without a boot, a couple weeks ago. Now you see him on the field, he's in a boot. So I'm not sure, if there was a re-injury. I'm not sure what's going on with that situation. I think he seems to be moving fine when you see him on the field. He's in the boot, but he's walking completely fine. I was down there LIU week 1, I was standing right next to him. He seemed, to be pretty fine. So at first I thought it was more of just they didn't want to send him out there until they needed him. But I think, there's an argument to be made that you need him. LSU week 3, this is one of the biggest games of the entire season. So I'm not sure what's going on with that situation. I don't think it's time to freak out just yet. I mean, he got banged up. It's week 3. He's not out there yet. But he is a freshman wide receiver. It's not the end of the world, per se. So, I don't know. We'll see with him. I think, if I had to guess, I think we see him back sooner rather than later. But I said that after week 1, and we're here now. So, I'm not too sure.
I'm going to play devil's advocate with the next question. This wasn't on the list. Is that a Eugene Wilson situation 2.0?
What do you mean by that?
Which Eugene got hurt. But they kept telling him, oh, he's week to week. And then week to week, he never ended up playing much.
Yeah, that's hard to tell, man. I mean, so this is the info I got on Dallas Wilson was he's out of the boot, right? So I guess he was like doing normal things you would do around campus outside of the boot. Now, maybe he just didn't want to wear the boot because he's almost perfectly healed and he's still got some ways to go. Maybe they did a quick scan on him and somebody saw something they didn't like, so they put the boot back on him. Maybe he tweaked it a little bit in practice. We don't know. But at the end of the day, like last time I heard, he was pretty okay. But now we see the boot on him again. So it's like, okay, well, what happened between last week and this week? So, I mean, we don't really get much info on that sort of scenario. Maybe nothing even happened, and maybe they're just keeping the boot on him. I don't know, but it is a really weird situation when you think about it. It was like, okay, well, he's making like TikTok videos with no boot on. People are spotting him different places on campus with no boot on, but yet he has a boot on at the USF game, and you're just like,
exactly.
What?
Yeah, it's definitely a tough situation. I will say the Eugene Wilson situation was also super unique last year. I think it ended up being some type of hip, it was a very unique injury that I don't think, anyone kind of expected that to be something he needed huge surgery for and to be out for the year. So I wouldn't go as far as saying that it's Eugene Wilson 2.0 just yet. I think that we'll see him out there soon, but it is a very odd situation.
All right, guys, we're going to start with the pick'em. I didn't ask you the last question because it's going to be the last question of the pick'ems, which is your final score. And we'll see if they pick LSU over Florida. We'll see. INST versus Indiana tomorrow at 6:30. No, this is Friday. Sorry. I don't do Friday games. So Oregon versus Northwestern.
Yeah, I'll start, and then we'll go to Dave, and then Carlos.
Yeah, and then I'll do last.
Yeah, I'm picking Oregon here. I think everyone's picking Oregon here for the most part around the country. Dante Moore's a really good quarterback so far this year, so I'm excited for Oregon. I think Oregon gets it done.
Yeah, Yeah, I'm the same way. Oregon's got way more of a boatload of talent than Northwestern. I think that's going to be one of those gimme games on their schedule. I don't even think the game is going to be close. I'm definitely going with Oregon.
I'm going with Oregon too. I don't see Northwestern putting up a fight, so it's Oregon for me. Number 12, Clemson at Georgia Tech on ESPN at noon.
Yeah, this is a sneaky game. I think Clemson the past 2 weeks have really looked questionable. I mean, you saw Troy was up at halftime. That was something I don't think anyone saw coming. They were hyped up as one of the most talented teams in the country, and they started really rough. I'm a huge fan of what Georgia Tech is building. I think Georgia Tech is a sneaky contender for the ACC this year, but I just can't, get over Clemson's talent. I think Clemson does get it done, but I think this is a really good game, and it could go either way.
Yeah, I'm kind of at a loss for knowing which team's going to win this game, only because of the fact that Clemson's still very talented. They have been shaky lately, as Dylan has said. They did pull off the Troy game. They did have a really good game against LSU as well. And then you got Georgia Tech and Haynes King over there. And Haynes King has been pretty good for Georgia Tech. I mean, you go back to last year, they beat number 4 Miami. They take Georgia to the ropes in a million overtimes, wind up losing the game, but, they were in it and they could have won that game as well. That team has been one of those teams that's like a trap team or sort of somewhat, if you will. And like you said, a dark horse in the ACC as well. It was really, really hard for me on High Top to pick this, but of course we pick with the spreads. So I went ahead and I picked, I think I picked Georgia Tech with the spread or Clemson. I can't remember, but I think Clemson will pull it off just based on a talent level. But this game could go either way, but I'm going to go Clemson.
I'm going Clemson. I have a feeling that Georgia Tech might sneak up on them, but I'll still go Clemson. They're the number 12 team in the country. Until someone knocks them off, I'm going to stick with them.
Yeah.
Oklahoma versus at Temple.
Yeah, this one's not going to be a much of a battle. I think Oklahoma has done a great job at rebuilding that team. I think they're really good this year. Shout out John Mateer. Shout out Deion Burks. I think that offense is explosive. They looked good last week, so give me Oklahoma here.
Yeah, I got to go Oklahoma too, man. They look like a vastly improved team offensively from last year. We'll see as the schedule goes on, and they beat Alabama last year. So it's like, you see where the talent's at Oklahoma. They just couldn't get the offense going, and it looks like they're starting to find some rhythm there on the offense and all that. So I would pick Oklahoma too.
Sorry for the Philadelphia University of Temple, but they're not going to put up a fight against Oklahoma. It's Oklahoma for me.
Yeah.
Next, let me get the game. What happened here? Glitch on my phone, guys. Sorry.
Stupid smartphones.
Yes. Wisconsin at number 19, Alabama.
Yeah, I'm going Bama here. I think, we talked about Wisconsin a little last week. They lost Billy Edwards. I'm not sure if it's been announced that he's out for the year, but from what I saw, it was probably heading that way. I'm going Bama here. They had a great bounce back. Obviously, it was UL Monroe, so I don't think you can really classify that as an amazing bounce back. But I think, we hyped them up with all the talent this year. I'm not sure, when they get to their tougher opponents, how they fare after that FSU game, but they'll get it done here, I believe.
Yeah, Wisconsin's a little bit of a tricky team, man. I mean, they have 2 quarterbacks. I guess they were kind of running now. Danny O'Neal's done pretty decent. He has a 76.1% completion rating right now, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But, I mean, Alabama is just stockpiled with talent. I think they had a bad taste in their mouth week 1 from Florida State. They came in and they played, I believe, a ULM and just dropped a whole bunch of points on them, which they should have because it's Alabama. It's against a team that you should beat. I think they're riding a little bit of momentum. I think they're a little irritated from that week 1. I'm going to pick Alabama.
I'm going Alabama because this is not the Wisconsin I'm used to. So It's Alabama for me. Central Michigan versus Michigan.
Yeah, another pretty easy one to pick. Michigan, I mean, they didn't get it done against OU, but I think they have a lot of talent. I think Bryce Underwood has them in a great direction this year. So not too much to say about this one. I'm going Michigan.
Yeah, I'm going to go Michigan too, man. It's something that Michigan's been really good at over the years is running the football. And Justice Haynes has done a really good job running the football so far this year. I believe he's averaging like 8 yards a carry or something like that. And Bryce Underwood has been performing very well for Michigan. And I don't think this game's close. I'm picking Michigan.
Central Michigan was good when Malcolm Wayne was there. He's gone. It's Michigan. The Huskies versus Nebraska.
Yeah, give me Nebraska here. I mentioned it last show. I thought Nebraska was going to look better week 1. I think they improved week 2. I'm still holding out that they could be a real serious squad this year. I don't think I've seen anything, to tell me that they're a college football playoff team yet, but I think they get it done here pretty easily. Give me Nebraska.
And I'm not talking about Washington. I'm talking about Connecticut.
Yeah, this is a pretty gimme game here, man. So far, so good. Dylan Raiola is doing what he's supposed to be doing against the opponents that they're playing. He's got a 78% completion rating. He's got 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 600 yards. I'm going with Nebraska. Dylan Raiola, I don't even think it's close.
Nebraska for me. I don't think Connecticut puts up a fight. TOW versus Maryland.
Yeah, give me Maryland here. Freshman quarterback. I believe his name's Malik Washington. Really good quarterback. He was a 4-star out of high school. I think that they're building something special. I think this is an easy win for them.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and go the same pick that Dylan has. I have no words really for Maryland. Just pick Maryland.
I'm taking Maryland also. WNM versus UVA.
Yeah, give me Virginia here. I thought Virginia looked good against why am I saying their name wrong? North Carolina State, I think. NC State.
Yeah, it was NC State.
Yeah, I think NC State is a very solid team this year, and Virginia kind of took them to the wire there. Chandler Morris is a good quarterback. I'm taking Virginia here.
Yeah, I'm going to go Virginia here too, man. Chandler Morris has been playing very well too. They also got a running back averaging a little over 6 yards a carry right now at Virginia, and their offense looks pretty plugged in right now, and I would probably take them. So I'm going Virginia.
I'm going Virginia simply. It's a smaller school versus Virginia. This is Cupcake City, so Virginia it is.
We're eating a lot of cupcakes today.
Sam versus Baylor.
Yeah, another cupcake, as you mentioned. I mean, Baylor, I was really high on them coming into the year. I thought their defense looked questionable week 1. Week 2, that was a great game. That was a huge game for them. I'm pulling Baylor here. I think Sawyer Robinson has been phenomenal this season. So give me Baylor.
Yeah, I'm going Baylor too, man. Sawyer Robinson, he's got, I think, like 800 or 900 yards for the year. He's got a really good completion rating as well. So I'm going to go Baylor. Another cupcake for Baylor.
Yep, Baylor it is for me. Memphis versus Troy.
Yeah, this one was tough for me just because Troy coming off a upset scare. They almost got Clemson. I ended up going Memphis. I'm picking Memphis here just because they've had a really solid start to the year, and I feel like their offense is a little better than Troy's. So give me Memphis, but I think this one's actually closer than a lot of people might think.
Yeah, it's kind of like originally I would pick Memphis over Troy just because it's Troy. But then, as Dylan said, what you saw against Clemson, you were just like, wow, you were pretty amazed. So I'm going to go Memphis here just based on the roster and how stable they've been looking. And, of course, Troy, I hate to say this because the Troy fans are going to get mad, but I'm going to say Troy is Troy. But they put up a fight against Clemson. And, look, I'm worried about the upset here, but I'm going to go ahead. I'll go with Memphis.
I'm going with Memphis. They're normally high-powered. I saw the scare of Clemson, but I think that's just a one-hit wonder. I don't think they're going to do anything else for the rest of the season. Memphis it is. Buffalo versus Kent.
Yeah, give me Buffalo here. I like what Buffalo has on offense. They have a really good running back. Their quarterback was exciting. I mentioned it after their week 1 matchup against Minnesota. They took them down to the wire. I think Buffalo has a good team this year, so I think they get this one done.
Yeah, I don't know too much about Buffalo, so I'm just going to go with what Dylan said. Just go ahead and give me Buffalo.
We do that all the time.
Yeah,
after games I don't know, I just start going off Dylan.
Yeah, well, so I was really good at copying homework in school, so I'm just going to copy his homework. All right, let's go ahead, pick whoever.
Okay,
you think.
I'm going to pick Buffalo. USA versus number 24 Auburn.
Yeah, another easy one. Auburn here. Auburn, give them credit. I thought that they were kind of being overrated in the SEC this season, but they've come out and proved it. That I think they're really improved this year. Jackson Arnold has actually proved me wrong here at the start. I'm not giving in too early here. I didn't think he was a very good quarterback, but he's been solid. So give me Auburn here.
Yeah, I'm going to go Auburn here too. I just think that there's too much talent on the Auburn side compared to who they're playing, and the quarterback. Auburn looks a little bit more improved this year. Of course, we'll see when they get into the SEC schedule, but Auburn, especially, I even said this too. It's like, this is Hugh Freeze in his third year. He can't go 6-7, 5-6. Like, he's got to make some noise this year. So go ahead and give me Auburn, because I think they just out talent them, and I think they've looked a little bit better too.
I'm going Auburn. I don't expect anything. This is another cupcake for Auburn. I can't wait for them to get into the SEC schedule to see if they're really number 24 in the country. Napier's old stomping grounds versus Mizzou.
Yeah, give me Missouri here. I think Missouri, I was sleeping on them coming into the year. I think Bo Prapula was a really big question mark, but he's been phenomenal for them. I thought that game last week versus Kansas was one of the better games on the slate. Give me Missouri. Kevin Coleman's a baller. I think he'll be one of the best wide receivers in the country. So, yeah, give me Missouri here.
Yeah, I'll take Missouri here, too. The running back, Ahmad Hardy, hasn't been playing too bad either, averaging 6.1 yards per carry. And the quarterback, I mean, look, I didn't think he would be that good either, but he's actually shocked me and surprised me. And Missouri's always one of those sneaky teams, I mean, of course, their opponent they're playing this week is what it is, but, like, they're always a sneaky team in the SEC, right? Like, you don't think that they're going to beat some teams, and then they come out and just beat them anyway. So go ahead and give me Missouri.
Yeah, when Missouri joined the SEC, I had first started calling them the new Vanderbilt, but they're a little bit better than Vandy, and Vandy's getting a little bit better because now they got that cocky quarterback. I can't think of his name right now.
Pavia.
But he's pretty good.
Stud.
I'm picking Missouri. UNH versus Ball State.
Yeah, this is going to be my first upset of the week. I'm going New Hampshire. Give me New Hampshire. My dad's from New Hampshire, so first off, shout out there. And, shout out Carlos. Carlos, you were a little late. You pushed us back. So I got to watch some Matt Vessa high school film, the New Hampshire quarterback. He is a stud. I'm super excited about him. So give me New Hampshire in the upset.
You know what? I don't even have a dog in this fight in this game. I'm just going to go with Dylan. I'm going to go New Hampshire just because he's a fan. I'm going to go with him. I'm going to copy his homework again.
I love it.
I like New Hampshire, but I'm going to go with the safe pick. Ball State did it.
Come on, Carlos. Come on, man.
I'm not taking a chance. You have a better record than me so far. Villanova versus number 2 Penn State.
Yeah, I think this one's pretty easy, Penn State. I think they've looked questionable this year. I thought they were going to be, a top 4 team in the nation. I don't think they haven't necessarily blown anyone out. I think they have to get Trebor Pena more involved. I'm kind of disappointed with that usage, but they're so talented. I think this is an easy win.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and go Penn State here too, man. Yeah, they haven't looked like the number 2 team in the country. I believe they're still number 2. I forget what the AP poll looks like since we dropped off of it anyway. But just give me Penn State. There's just too much talent, and at the same time, like he said, they've looked a little shaky. I think once they get to the meat of their schedule, we'll really see what they're made of. But I'm going to go ahead and go with Penn State.
The first big game of the week. I don't call it the marquee game because the marquee game is LSU Florida. Number 6 Georgia versus at number 15 Tennessee.
Yeah, this one's really tough. I going against my priors here because coming into the year, I thought that Georgia was kind of going to fall off a little, but I thought the Tennessee fall off was going to be insane. I didn't think Joey Aguilar was a very good quarterback. I thought that they were going to look, flat out bad. They have not. They've looked, admittingly really good. Obviously, it hasn't been a very tough schedule yet. That being said, I still think Georgia gets it done. I think, Kirby Smart, I don't see them losing to Tennessee, especially when, putting it out there that Joey Aguilar has been good. I still don't think he's good enough to beat Georgia. So give me the dogs here.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and go Tennessee here, man. Tennessee has looked a lot better than I thought they would. Joey Aguilar hasn't thrown a pick yet, 66%. He's thrown for 535. Granted, the opponents haven't been up to par on the schedule. I watched Georgia play Austin Peay last week. Didn't really look impressive. I watched them play the team. I think they scored like 45 points in the team before they played them. And, I always tell Uncle Lou this. I said, look, man, your quarterback looks like a good running back instead of a quarterback. And Stockton, I mean, look, I think he's all right. I don't think he's that great. And they've got some questions on their offensive line. So I'm going to go ahead and pick Tennessee for the victory and the upset.
They went before me, but I was going to say Tennessee because they're at home. And I like their quarterback. I've watched him one game, and I like what I see. So I'm going Tennessee for the upset.
Odd man out over here, I guess.
Well, actually, you know what? Uncle Lou's a UNLV fan. So
Oregon State versus Texas Tech.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough one because I hate betting against my guy Malik Murphy, but I'm going to have to do it. Texas Tech, their offense is truly explosive. I love their offense. I always struggle with his name, but Beren Morton, I'm pretty sure, is the quarterback. He's been elite for a couple of years now. Give me Texas Tech here. I think they're building something really good this year. I wouldn't put them in necessarily one of the better teams in the country, but that offense is super exciting. So give me Texas Tech.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Texas Tech here too, man. They've always been one of those teams that, like, they don't really you don't get scared when you look at them, but when you play them on the field, you're like, holy crap, I didn't know this team was that good. They're just a very, very good team. And as I said, they got a very good veteran quarterback. Give me Texas Tech.
I'm going Texas Tech. I don't expect anything from Oregon State. They haven't been the same Oregon State I've known since I was in college. So Texas Tech it is. USC versus Purdue.
Yeah, give me USC here. I think their weapons on offense, they're just so talented there. Mekhi Lemon has been everything that he was hyped up to be. Jacoby Lane is also a stud. So I think this one, respect for Purdue. They've had a solid start to the year. I think they're a solid team, but I'm going USC here.
Yeah, give me USC. There's a lot of talent still left on that team. The quarterback has been looking very, very good so far this year, and I just don't think that they're going to stop right now for the moment, so give me USC.
I'm going USC also. I don't think Purdue's going to put up a fight. Plus, the head coach at USC is doing a pretty good job now. YSU versus Michigan State.
Yeah, give me Michigan State here. I'm a big Michigan State guy. I love Aiden Childs over there. I loved him last year. I mentioned this before. He didn't really live up to my expectations last year. This year, he looks a lot better. That game against Boston College was kind of his coming out party, I think, in a way. So give me Michigan State here. I think they have a big year this year.
Yeah, I'm going Michigan State there too, man. It's hard for me to pick against them, especially against who they're the opponent. I don't know too much about Michigan State, but I'm just going to go ahead and pick them.
I'm going to go ahead and say Michigan State. Washington State University versus UNT.
Yeah, I got to start this one off by apologizing to the fans here. The last 2 weeks, I've been hyping up Zevi Ikos, who was supposed to be their starting quarterback. Then I find out that I've been missing the games. He got benched, or he lost the job. So I was hyping up Washington State a lot. I ended up looking kind of like an idiot there. I'll admit that. I still think they get it done here in an upset. It's interesting to see because I don't think their quarterback has done very well. I thought that Zevi was, the better player there. But I'm still taking them here. North Texas has, they have some solid weapons. They have a solid quarterback. But I'm taking my guys Washington State and Josh Meredith, that wide receiver, who is a stud.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and go Washington State too, man. I think that they just have a lot more talent, and I just think the talent's going to take over just in general. So just give me Washington State.
I'm doing Washington State also. SMU versus Most, MOST.
Yeah, this one's pretty simple. SMU here. I think, this one's not too hard to figure out.
Yeah, I'm going to SMU.
No SMU other it is for me too. Pitt versus Rich Rod on his comeback tour. West Virginia.
I have been loving. I don't know if you guys have seen it. I don't know if you guys have made your way over to West Virginia and Pitt Twitter. This rivalry is awesome. This is one of
Really?
oh my gosh, they are going at it on Twitter. There are some things that, it's pretty shocking, some of the things they tweet. I will say, I personally would never tweet some stuff that they're doing, but it's really fun to watch. I'm loving this rivalry. Personally, I think Pitt gets it done. I think they're much more talented than West Virginia. West Virginia has not looked very good this year, but I might just tune into this game because of how fun the rivalry's been on Twitter. It's been awesome.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll copy Dylan's homework. I'll pick Pitt, but also I want to hopefully I don't hope it gets that bad like the Ohio State-Michigan fight like a couple of years ago, but I want to see somebody slugging it out somewhere, right? Because you like to see that kind of stuff, especially when your team's not involved. So I'll go ahead and pick Pitt. But, man, look, if West Virginia pulls off that upset, man, hey, look.
I'm going to pick Pitt. Rich versus Belichick and the North Carolina Tar Heels.
Yeah, give me North Carolina here. I know, we've kind of been stunned with how they started the season, especially week 1. I think they ran into a really good TCU team, so I'm not necessarily taking too much away from North Carolina. I don't think they look good, but I think TCU is a really good team. So give me North Carolina here. I think they get it done. They, 2-1 for Belichick. Probably not where he wants to be, but it's a solid start to his college football coaching.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and pick UNC too, and I hope Bill Belichick gets his woman intact so she's not making like TikToks on the sideline. But I'll go ahead and I'll pick UNC here.
I'm picking UNC, even though I hate Belichick because I'm a Dolphins fan, and he had me thinking about nightmares for years. But Belichick it is. Northwestern State versus at Cincinnati. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Cincinnati here. I think, I mentioned it last week, their running back duo of, I think it's Evan Pryor and Tawoi Walker. There's some really good running backs there. I think, their quarterback, he showed some talent in week 1. So I'm going Cincinnati here pretty easily. I think they got a good roster.
Yeah, this is probably another cupcake game for Cincinnati. I'm just going to go ahead and go with them, and that's pretty much my pick. I don't really know too much about Cincinnati right now. So
I'm doing Cincinnati. I don't even know who their head coach is right now, but I'm going to bounce off Dylan and Dave. Cincinnati it is. UIW versus Utah. I think it's Utah SA.
UTSA, yeah,
UTSA.
I'm going UTSA here. I believe they're playing Incarnate Ward, which we've seen they're a quarterback factory all of a sudden. They get Cam Ward out there, Kentucky starters from Incarnate Ward. That being said, I'm still going UTSA here. They took who was it that they took to the wire? There was a big school recently that they kept it close with. I'm blanking on the name.
I think I'm in the audio, please. Also, and the next one was Morg, and I forgot who it is. Give me a second. Morg and Toledo.
Yeah, David. I think David didn't go for the last one. David, do you want to go?
Oh, go, Dave.
Oh, dude, I'm going UTSA. They have a running back right now. I just looked up. He has 10 yards per carry. That is insanely good for a running back, and I just think they have more talent. So I'm going to go UTSA.
Now Morgan at Toledo.
Yeah, Toledo, I think, I had money. Admittingly, I had money on Kentucky, and they took them down to the wire. I was super scared, super worried there. Tucker, I don't know if his last name, I'm blanking on his last name. Oh, something, I don't know, whatever. He's a solid quarterback. They got a good run game, so I'm going Toledo here. I think they're a solid team.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and go Toledo here too, man. They've always had, it seems like Toledo's always, when they've played not when they played an SEC team like Florida back in the day, but like when they played a team on their level, they seem to really be good and clicking offensively. I don't know what they do in these certain games, but I'll go ahead and go Toledo. I'm
going Toledo. I don't expect much from Morg. Iowa State University versus Arkansas State.
Yeah, give me Iowa State here. I've been pretty impressed by Rocco Beck and that squad. So, I doubted them week 1, week 0, and I think both of us, Carlos, got it wrong. So I'm not doing that again. Give me
I'm going to go with Arkansas State here, man. I think I need to be a little bit different here. I mean, I'm tired of copying Dylan over here. So, they do have a running back or a quarterback that has thrown for 470, 72% completion rating. And, those are good numbers, right? I don't know too much about them. I'll just go ahead and pick Arkansas State.
I'm going Iowa State because I don't think Arkansas State's going to put up a fight. Sorry. Even though it's a home game, I think they're going to get crushed.
Probably.
University of Texas, El Paso versus number 7, Texas.
Yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time on this one. Give me Texas here. That's about it.
Yeah, I'm going Texas here. I know Arch Manning's looked a little bit shaky at quarterback. There's a question of like a shoulder injury or something like that. But Texas just has a boatload of talent, and the talent's going to take over in that game. Give me Texas.
I'm doing Texas. University of Texas, El Paso. They shouldn't not even get off the bus, but it is Texas. Okay, guys. Now we'll find out if this team that beat us last week is really true, and if you guys are going to pick an upset. Number 18 versus number 18 USF versus number 5, the University of Miami Tropical Storms or Depressions, whatever you want to call them, but I don't call them the Hurricanes.
Yeah, I wish I could go the upset here, but it felt like, UF lost that game for themselves. I didn't think USF was ever the better team on that field Saturday. Not taking anything away from them. I gave credit to Alex Golesh. I think he's a great coach. I think Byam Brown is great on the ground. I thought Florida kind of exposed his weakness of passing a little. I didn't think there was any time where, we felt threatened by the passing game too much, other than when they led up a 77-yard touchdown out of nowhere. But I'm going Miami here pretty comfortably. I think, Miami takes us as a lesson and realizes let's not play around with these guys. Shout out to USF for the season they've been having, but I think it comes to an end here and Miami handles them pretty well.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and go Miami here. The only weakness I think Miami has against USF is no weakness. They have tons of talent on their offensive line. They have tons of talent defensive line. Tony has been a very good receiver for them, especially coming in here as a true freshman, Malachi Tony. And, the only, I guess, weakness that you could say Miami has in this game is getting pressure on Carson Beck. We've seen Beck be pressured before in the past. He is not good under pressure. His pressure numbers are not really good on PFF at all. He always throws the ball up. He doesn't know how to throw it out of bounds. But I don't think USF's going to get any pressure on Carson Beck, and Carson Beck's just going to pick him apart all day. And I think Miami wins big against USF.
All right, USF fans, you're going to hate me for this, but I'm going to speak facts. Guys, your bowl game was last week. Your national championship was last week, and we gave it to you. So Miami, it is in a blowout. Liberty versus BGSU.
Yeah, Bowling Green, Liberty. I'm leaning towards Liberty here. I think, I tended to go against Liberty the past few weeks just because they lost their star quarterback. There's no Malik Willis there anymore. And now, their last quarterback is now at Colorado benched, apparently, which I found pretty shocking. But, I looked at their stats, and they got a new quarterback out there slinging the rock. He looks pretty good. So I'm going Liberty here. I think they're slowly becoming the quarterback factory of their conference. It's shocking how many times they do it, but I'm going Liberty.
Yeah, I'm going to go Liberty too. I'll copy Dylan's homework here, and I have nothing to say. That's it.
I don't know if it's still the same head coach at Liberty, but before we hired Coach Napier, the Liberty coach back then was rumored to be coming to Gainesville, and then didn't happen. But I'll stick with Liberty. And by the way, guys, side note, on TikTok I saw obviously Panic Gator fans already making their list, and they had the USF head coach as one of their choices, and I scratched my head.
No.
You don't like that, Carlos?
I'm good.
I might as well stay with Billy if we're going to go with him.
Hey, Galesh, he had his team in it to win against Florida. I don't know.
One game. Come on now. Win me a conference title, and then we'll talk.
That's true.
MTSU versus Nevada.
Yeah, give me Nevada here. Nevada's looked pretty impressive. They kept it close with Penn State. Good team. I'll take Nevada here.
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, man. I like gambling, man. Give me Nevada.
I'm gonna go ahead and go with Nevada. ALCN versus Mississippi State.
Yeah, huge shout out here to Mississippi State. I don't think anyone in the SEC expected them to be 2-0 right now. That was an insane finish to the game against Arizona State, who personally I thought Arizona State was still going to be pretty good this year. We'll have to see with them, but shout out to Mississippi State. I think they continue it this week. I think they're 3-0.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was that said, watch out for Blake Shapen this year. I believe it was Jake Crane that said that on a tweet. And he's looked pretty good. He's looked pretty solid this whole year. And I'm actually surprised at how Mississippi State's been playing. And I know BFW, Brandon Walker's probably excited as well because Mississippi State's doing well. So I'll go ahead and pick them.
I'm picking Mississippi State. I don't think the other team will put up a fight against Mississippi State. And sadly enough, they're gonna be 3-0. FAU versus FIU.
Yeah, this is an exciting one, a low-key exciting one. I mean, an in-state little rivalry. Both teams honestly have looked pretty solid this year. I'm big into what FIU's doing. I know we talked about it a little bit. They're pretty solid this year. I'm taking FIU here. I love what they're building. They got the lefty gunslinger at quarterback. They've looked really good through, a couple weeks. So give me FIU in a big win.
Yeah, I'm going FIU too, man. Like they've been pretty impressive from what I've seen, and like if you're seeing names on tweets or you're seeing names on a schedule, you're seeing any kind of university just in your face reading about them. That means they're probably either doing really bad or really good. And I've heard nothing but really good things about FIU, so I'm going to go with them. I'm
going to go with FIU. Sorry, Owls, but FIU it is. MRMK versus Ken.
Yeah, Kennesaw State. I think, after week one, Kennesaw State kind of probably felt really good about themselves. They lost, but it was 10-9 to Wake Forest. I don't think anyone expected them in that game. Week two was a little more rough for them. I think, they took a step back. I'm still going Kennesaw State here. I don't know too much about their team, but they've put up performances, especially that Wake game. It was impressive. So I'll go Kennesaw State here.
I got to go with my hometown Kennesaw State Owls, 10 miles down the street from me, baby. My sister graduated from that school. A couple other people I know graduated from that school. And Ben Troop has one of his kids, I guess, playing there or attending there. I can't remember what he told me. So I'm going to go with Kennesaw State. Shout out to Ben Troop.
I'm going to copy Dave's homework and Dylan's homework. Kennesaw State it is. EKU versus Marshall.
Yeah, I decided to go Marshall here. I think, there was some questions. I don't think they've necessarily looked awesome. I know week one you got Georgia. That's really tough. But I think they get it done. I think they're the inferior opponent. I think they get it done here, Marshall.
Yeah, I'm going to go Marshall, too. I mean, they're long before the days of upsetting Notre Dame or anything. But I think that, they have a pretty solid team. And I think they're a little bit better than EKU anyway. I'm going to go Marshall.
I'm going to go Marshall. I don't expect anything from EKU in this game. So Marshall it is. MONM versus CLT.
Yeah, give me Charlotte here. I've always low-key been a Charlotte homer.
You're a Charlotte fan. I can tell.
I don't know why. I don't know why, but I love me some Charlotte. Give me Charlotte here. I know they haven't looked necessarily awesome this year, but I'm sticking with my guns. So give me Charlotte.
Yeah, I don't know anything about neither one of these teams too much, and I'll go with Dylan. I'll make him happy. I'm going to go ahead and pick Charlotte.
I love it.
I'm going to make you happy, Dylan. Also, I'm going to copy your homework. Charlotte it is for the first time this year.
I appreciate you guys.
University of Ohio versus number 1 Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, Carlos, I called it last week with Ohio. You called me crazy for that pick. Ohio.
Yes, I did. I remember.
I love me some Ohio, same way I love Charlotte.
Is there going to be an upset?
I will not be picking the upset. I will not do it. But Parker Navarro, mad credit. He's a great quarterback. I still think Ohio State blows them out, sadly. Give me Ohio State.
Yeah, the talent differential between these two teams is ridiculously uneven, and you would probably be stupid if you picked against Ohio State in this game. I don't know what the spread's like, but if there was no spread, you're definitely picking Ohio State. I'm going to pick them just because based on a talent level, and I've looked at their roster, not Ohio State's, but I've looked at the Ohio Bobcats roster. I'm losing my words. The roster doesn't have a lot of people on it anyway. It's a really small team. I'm going to Ohio State.
I'm going to Ohio State. Don't even get off the bus, Ohio. You might just not even go to the game and forfeit. Ohio State it is. WMU versus the Fighting Illini.
Yeah, mad respect for Illinois. I know I was picking Duke all week. I love me some Duke. I thought Duke was going to get it done. They ended up just blowing Duke out the water. That was really shocking, in my opinion. So I got to give them a ton of credit. I think, a lot of people thought that they were way overrated this year. I guess, they've proved that they deserve that rating. So give me them here again.
Yeah, the Fighting Illini are number 9 in the country.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Dylan here, man. As I said, I have no knowledge, but they did look impressive. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Dylan's pick.
I'm going with Illinois. Arkansas versus number 17 Ole Miss.
Yeah, here's another SEC matchup. Ole Miss getting them out early. It's pretty fun to see that they've got 2 SEC matchups back to back so early in the season. Arkansas, Taylor Green's a really good quarterback. I think Arkansas does great against people outside of the conference. I don't think they're going to do great against people inside of the conference. Give me Ole Miss here. I think, Austin Simmons kind of looked rough last week. I think he threw like 2 picks, but I still have a lot of faith in him. I think he's a really good quarterback. So give me Ole Miss here.
Yeah, I think I picked the upset on the High Top Show just to get more points because Shelton picked Ole Miss, I believe. I can't remember, but I remember picking against whoever picked whatever. So Ole Miss, they played Kentucky last week. I didn't expect Kentucky to hang in there with Ole Miss like they did. I was very high on Austin Simmons before the season. You look at his high school track record, he did pretty well. He's off to a shaky start, but God, I'm going to go Ole Miss here anyway, but I think Arkansas can also make some noise.
I'm going Ole Miss. The Arkansas head coach, his name is escaping right now. I can't think of his name, but he needs several wins in order to stay in Arkansas. But I'm going Ole Miss.
He keeps hanging around.
Yeah.
Yes.
Give him credit.
Yes, he does. Sounds like somebody I know. That is a head coach in Gainesville.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Old Dominion versus Virginia Tech.
Yeah, Virginia Tech got, handled by Vandy. Shout out Vandy, man. Vandy looks good this year. Virginia Tech, they gave South Carolina a scare in week 1. So you got to give them credit. I think they get it done here. I know Old Dominion kind of gave someone, I forgot who it was, in week 1. They gave someone a run for their money a little bit. But I think Virginia Tech handles this one pretty easily. Give me Virginia Tech.
Yeah, I was actually shocked at how Virginia Tech kind of fell there. Especially last year with the way that their defense played and everything else. Virginia Tech looked like a pretty solid team, but this is Old Dominion, and I'm going to go ahead and pick Virginia Tech.
I'm picking Virginia Tech. I don't expect Old Dominion to put up a fight against a very superior team compared to them. So Virginia Tech it is. JVST versus Gasso.
Yeah, this is going to be another upset for me, according to the spread, I believe.
Wow.
Give me Jackson State here. Jack State, they've looked phenomenal through 2 weeks. First week they take UCF. They almost beat UCF in the bounce house. It was 17-10. I don't think I left that game thinking UCF was a very good team, but you got to give Jack State credit. They got a win last week. I think they won big last week, if I remember correctly. Gavin Winstead, he's from Rutgers. He's their quarterback. He has a lot of trouble throwing the ball, but he can run that thing. I think he's a solid quarterback for a team like Jack State. Give me Jack State here in a big upset.
Yeah, I'm going to go Jacksonville State too, man. Like they've been playing really, really well as of late. As you said, they almost pulled off an upset against UCF. That would have been hilarious if they would have beat UCF, because then I could have trolled UCF one more time. But yeah, they've been very impressive. I'm going to go ahead and pick them too.
I'm going to pick Jackson State because of what Dylan said previously. I'm not copying your homework, but I've seen them play. So Jackson State it is. MUR versus Georgia State.
Yeah, I ended up taking Georgia State here. I did a little research, and their team just looks, that much better. So I ended up going Georgia State. I'm not going to act like I'm a big ball knower of Georgia State, but I think they get it done.
Yeah, I live in Georgia, and I'm going to just pick the hometown unless it's the Georgia Bulldogs. So I'll go Georgia State.
I'm going to pick Georgia State. App versus University of Southern Miss.
Yeah, give me Southern Miss here. I don't think they're favored in this game. I mentioned it last week. I mentioned that Southern Miss is, I think, in for a really good year. They brought over the coach that won their conference last year. They brought over Braylon Braxton, who's one of the best quarterbacks in their conference. I think App State is favored, but I'm a big Southern Miss guy, so give me Southern Miss here.
I'm going to go App State, man. They're 2-0. They're running on all cylinders right now. They've looked pretty well from what I've seen on film. I haven't watched a lot of App State this year, but what I know and what I've seen looks impressive. I'm just going to go ahead and go with App State.
I'm going to go with Southern Miss. Next, PV versus Rice.
Yeah, this is another one where I'm not going to sit here and act like I know too much about this team, but I looked into Rice, and they've had a good start to the year, so give me Rice here.
Yeah, but what kind of rice do you like? Do you like the what kind? Is it the white rice, the wheat rice, the jasmine rice? It doesn't matter what rice you like. I'm picking rice anyway.
I'm picking Rice myself. Next game I'm going to skip because it's the last game we're going to actually predict and pick. You can imagine what game it is. Texas A&M versus actually number 16 Texas A&M versus number 8 Notre Dame.
Yeah, this one's tough for me because, we left week 1 and we kind of said we weren't necessarily impressed by Notre Dame. I liked what I saw from CJ Carr. I felt like he kind of got, held back by the OC being a little scared to even throw the ball with him. But, he looked like for his first start, I thought he looked pretty solid. Texas A&M, they're kind of weird. They always have these high expectations. They always end up reaching them and then not reaching them at the same time. Like, it's such a weird dynamic where it's like they come everything and then they also underwhelm somehow. So I'm going to end up taking Notre Dame here. I think Marcel Reed, he has the talent to be a good quarterback. I don't think I've necessarily seen enough to call him a good quarterback yet. I like the talent they have around him. I think Mario Craver is a great wide receiver. And Kevin Concepcion, obviously, is one of the better wide receivers in college football. But I'm taking Notre Dame here. Give me Notre Dame.
Yeah, I'm going to go Texas A&M, man. Marcel Reed's been playing really, really well this year. He played pretty well last year as well. I think they got a boatload of talent there, too. Of course, they've gotten some of our guys transferred over there, too. But, look, Notre Dame, they didn't impress me much against Miami. I think they could have beaten Miami if they had a better, solid, more game plan. I think when you run 10 bubble screens and they all just blunder, I think they had like 2 that were successful, and then the rest of them, they just kept getting, it was predictable. That offense was predictable against Miami. I just think Texas A&M is going to be one of those teams. It's like you said, Dylan, they lose games they shouldn't. And that's what scares me about picking Texas A&M, but I think that they're going to be able to do it against Notre Dame. So give me Texas A&M.
I'm going to ride with Dave on this one, first of all, because I want them to be ranked when we go to Kyle Field. Second of all, I believe they're a more talented team than Notre Dame. Texas A&M it is. EMU versus Kentucky.
Yeah, I ranted about Kentucky after, week 1. I mentioned how Zach Calzada, kind of pissed me off a little bit because he's such an old quarterback, and he did not look like a veteran against Toledo. But they have a nice bounce back. They push Ole Miss. Dave, you mentioned you didn't really expect them to be in that game. I didn't either. I thought that Ole Miss was going to run away with that one. So I got to give them credit there, and I think Kentucky gets it done. I don't necessarily think they're the best SEC team out there. I don't think they're, even in the top 10. But give me Kentucky here.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and pick Kentucky too, man. They looked very impressive against Ole Miss when they had played, and They changed the quarterback situation over there as well. The quarterback, he's okay, not great, but they did make some noise against Ole Miss, and I think I'm going to just go roll with Kentucky.
I'm going with Kentucky. I think they're just the better team, so Kentucky it is. UMass versus Iowa.
Yeah, give me Iowa here. I think Iowa's kind of a weird team because it always feels like their offense is never good, and I don't necessarily think their offense is very good this year either. But I think they get it done. I mean, this is a game they should win, so give me Iowa here.
Yeah, I'm going to go Iowa too. I just based on the fact that I think they have more talent than who they're playing, so just go ahead and give me Iowa.
I'm going to do Iowa myself. New Mexico State versus La Tech.
Yeah, shout out La Tech. I mean, scouting our opponent, Florida's opponent this week, La Tech, I think they ended up, 23-3? It was not, a blowout as you expected. Shout out them for keeping it close. They've had a good start to the year. I'm going to take them here, Louisiana Tech.
Yeah, I'm not even going to try to say the quarterback's last name for Louisiana Tech, but he's playing very well. His name's Trey, and I'm not going to say that last name because it looks very funny, and I'm just not going to do that. But he's thrown for 69.4%, only 176 yards. Of course, that's a small sample size, but I'm going to go with Louisiana Tech.
I'm going with Louisiana Tech. I don't expect New Mexico State to put up a fight. East Carolina State versus CCU.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned it after week 1. ECU took NC State, down to the wire. That was an awesome rivalry game. I was impressed with what I saw. I picked them last week. I'm going to pick them again here. Give me ECU.
Yeah, ECU is one of those teams, man, that, always sneaks up on people. I don't know how they do it. I remember us having to play them a few years back, I think, when we had Will Greer, and that game was pretty close there, too. But I'm going to go with East Carolina, ECU.
I'm going to go with East Carolina myself. This one's kind of hard for me because I want them to get beat, but I think it's going to be the other way around. Vandy versus number 11 South Carolina.
Yeah, here we go again. Last week, we talked about Vandy. I picked what was probably considered an upset. I picked Vandy to win that game. They looked phenomenal. And guess what? We're doing it right back again. Give me Vandy.
Oh, back-to-back Vandy weeks.
I am a big Vandy guy. I was a big Vandy guy last year. My claim to fame was that I knew that they were going to be pretty competent last year. Diego Pavia's a great quarterback. I think South Carolina is fraudulent. I'm just going to come out here and say it. I mean, they needed to beat VT. They needed a special teams touchdown, and then Vandy comes out and absolutely smashes VT. I think Vandy gets it done here. Give me Vandy in the upset.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Dylan, man. That's kind of the same way I was thinking. I do think South Carolina has some dogs on their defensive line, but I think that's all that they have. And if they can keep pressure off of Diego Pavia, I think Vanderbilt runs away with it.
I think it's Vandy also. I was going to say flipping on you guys, but originally my goal was saying Vandy. I think South Carolina drops into the 20s. And they might be in danger of falling out of the top 25.
Woo.
Love it.
Utah versus Wyoming.
Yeah, I mean, past 2 weeks I've been singing their praise. I think Utah's a really good football team. I think Devon Dampier is an amazing quarterback. I love what I've been seeing from them. I've been mentioning that they're going to, be in it for the college football playoff. I still believe that. Give me Utah here to keep rolling.
Yeah, Utah's one of those teams that just keeps turning out talent. I mean, I think the head coach, Mendenhall's done a really good job there. I'm going to go ahead and pick Utah. Utah. Was it Utah State?
It's Utah.
Utah.
Oh, Utah. I'm going to go ahead and do Utah anyway. I thought it was Utah State.
No, I'm picking Utah. They're ranked number 20. I don't think the Wyoming Cowboys are going to do much. Duke versus Tulane.
Yeah, this is a low-key awesome game. I don't think a lot of people are talking about this game. This is going to be a great game. On one side, you have Tulane. They got Jake Retzloff from BYU after that whole scandal and, whatever happened over there. He's a really good quarterback. Tulane's actually looked pretty good so far this year. On the other side, I mentioned it before, I'm a huge Duke guy. I think Darian Mensah is an amazing quarterback. It was a tough game against Illinois, but I still think Duke has a lot of talent. I love what they're building over there. Shout out Manny Diaz. I know Miami fans are going to hate that, but shout out Manny Diaz for what he's building at Duke. Give me Duke here in a really close game and a really fun game to watch.
Yeah, I'm going to go the other way, man. Duke's looked kind of shaky. I mean, like, they haven't looked that impressive to me. And usually Duke has a pretty good squad. They can run the ball pretty well, but I'm going to go the other way on Dylan's pick.
I'm going to go with Dave. I was going to go before Dave spoke about it, but I think Tulane has a better team. Duke hasn't been impressive. Tulane it is. That's my first upset of the week. ACU versus TCU.
Yeah, another team where I'm super excited about. I think TCU, Josh Hoover is a really good quarterback. I think they have a chance to be in the college football playoff too. You got to watch out for them. I think they might be pushing Utah there for that conference. So give me TCU here. I really like what they got building over there. I really like their quarterback, and I think they're a great team.
Yeah, I'm going TCU too, man. Everything that I've seen from that team so far, they've looked very, very good, and I just don't think it's even going to be close. I'm going to go with TCU.
I'm going with TCU. Navy versus TLSA.
Yeah, I'm taking Navy here. Got to support the troops. I don't know too much about their opponent, but we've picked Navy a couple times here, and they've gotten done. So I'm going Navy again.
Hey, man, it's 9/11. I'm going Navy, baby. Give me Navy all day.
I'm going Navy. I picked Navy several times, so Navy it is. AKR versus University of Alabama Birmingham.
Yeah, this is a very funny game because if you've looked at the opponent, I believe they've scored 0 points through 2 weeks. If I'm not mistaken, it's actually insane. They've been getting blown out the water, and to be fair, UAB has not looked that much better. Trent Dilfer, I believe, is the coach over there. It's kind of been questionable over there. That being said, I'm not taking a team that has scored 0 points so far. I'm taking UAB.
Yeah, it's pretty smart. I'm going with Dylan's pick there, too.
I'm going to go with Dylan's pick also. Air Force versus USU.
Yeah, I believe it's Utah State versus
Air Force.
I believe
it's Utah State.
This is going to be another upset. I think Air Force is favored in this game. I'm leaning towards Utah State. I'm going to take Utah State here. They pushed Texas A&M to the wire a little bit. They look good against UTEP, I believe, was the first game. They got the W there.
UTEP, yeah. Yep.
I think, Utah State's had a good start to the year. I think Air Force hasn't done much. It feels bad because I just said I want to support the troops, and now I'm picking against them. But give me Utah State here. I got to go with them. I think they get the upset.
Yeah, I quoted about how Mendenhall's done a great job over at Utah State and all that. And look, it's 9/11. I got to go Air Force, man. Just for today. But I think Utah State wins. But I'm going to pick Air Force.
I'm going to pick Utah State based on what Dave said earlier, and based on what you said about Utah State. So, Utah State it is. OU versus Fresno.
Yeah, I'm going Fresno State here. I think, we talked about them a little bit, how that game against Kansas to start the year was a kick in the mouth. I don't think they were very good. But that being said, they're still a talented team. I think they have Kurt Warner's son at quarterback, E.J. Warner, or I don't know if it's his son or he's related, I believe. And he's been solid. So give me Fresno State here.
Yeah, I'm going to go the other way with this one, man. And it's not because I don't think Fresno State can win. It's the quarterback. He's been solid, but he's also thrown 5 interceptions and 0 touchdowns. So I'm worried about turnovers in this game. So I'll go ahead and go the other way.
I'm going to go Fresno. Minnesota at Cal.
Yeah, this is a good game. Another one, I'm not sold on Minnesota. I think some people are sold on Minnesota. I question them a little bit. And then you go to Cal's side. I'm not even going to try to say their quarterback's name, but he is a stud, true freshman. Yeah. You've probably seen the cut up of week 1. I mean, he was slinging that thing. I think Cal gets it done here. I think, you got a talented quarterback. You got a high ceiling. Give me Cal here.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and go with Cal too, man. Exactly what Dylan said. The quarterbacks look pretty sharp, and I don't know. I have to go with Cal.
I'm going with Cal based on what I've seen on tape. So Cal it is. BC at Stanford.
Yeah, I don't think Stanford's a very good football team.
No.
I think, Boston College, I wouldn't, put them in the very good, but they pushed MSU. That was a great game. Went to overtime. Give me Boston College here pretty easily, I think.
Yeah, I'm going the same way. Give me BC, man. Stanford has just been a mess after they lost Melvin Gordon, and I don't think they've ever recovered. So, yeah, go ahead. I'll go with Dylan.
I'm going to go BC. I picked Stanford week 1, and it was a mistake because of tradition, but it's not the Stanford we know. So BC it is. Texas State versus Arizona State University.
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. They got upset by Mississippi State last week. I thought Arizona State was going to be a bit better than they've looked so far. That being said, I think they bounce back this week. I mean, you got to believe that Sam Levitt starts figuring it out a little bit. You got to believe that, I'm a big fan of Kenny Dillingham. I think he's a good coach. So I think Arizona State gets it done.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and go Arizona State, too. Copying old Dylan's homework this time.
Actually, Arizona State's head coach is one of my candidates if Billy were to exit stage left. He's not my top candidate, but he's in my top 5. So, Arizona State it is. And the second to last game, PRST versus one of Dylan's favorite teams this season, Hawaii.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned you picked Stanford week 0. I picked Hawaii. We saw who got it done. I'm starting to realize I have too many favorite teams now. I'm hyping up like every team on this list, which is a bad look. But I love me some Hawaii. Unfortunately, Micah Alihado has not been out there. I think for 2 straight weeks, maybe 1 straight week. He's dealing with the injury. Luke Weaver stepped in and been all right. I wouldn't say they're as good as they are when Micah Alihado's out there. I saw that, Micah Alihado is trending maybe in the right direction. Either way, this should be an easy win for them. I think they have some sneaky talent this year. So give me Hawaii again. Give me my boys.
Yeah, give me Hawaii. Give me the Rainbow Warriors. I'm going with Dylan.
Dylan, you burned me once, and that's not going to happen again. Hawaii it is. All right, the marquee matchup of this show. And monkey number 1 for Coach Billy Napier of the Gauntlet. Our Florida Gators go into Death Valley and have to face LSU, the number 3 team in the country. I want score prediction and pick.
Oof. All right. This one's really tough. Admittingly, if we were 2-0 heading into this game, I probably am taking LSU here. I think I came into the season thinking LSU was going to be one of the best teams in the nation. Their defense looks so much more improved. They're a really good football team, through and through. I think wide receiver wise, Barryon Brown, Dave mentioned him earlier. That's a playmaker. Aaron Anderson is a super good wide receiver. I mean, a little bit on the shorter side, but he gets it done. They added so much talent through the portal. That being said, Florida needs this game more than they've needed a game before. Billy Napier needs this game. I mean, he's already on the hot seat. They just lost to USF, which should never have happened. This game goes from it would be cool if we got the win, but I don't see it happening. So now they need to win this game. LSU, on the other hand, they got their big win against Clemson in week 1. All the hype is on them. I don't think if Brian Kelly loses this game, anyone really is saying fire him. I mean, I'm sure, there's not a lot of LSU. There's a couple LSU fans out there that don't like him. That being said, I think his job is still secured. So, I'm flipping my pick here. I think UF, it might be homerish. UF gets it done here. I think they need this game. I think they have the talent to win this game. I think, if DJ Lagway comes out here and he looks a little more like himself, the defense has proven that they're a pretty good unit. I think, if you fix some things, you fix some, the penalties like we mentioned before, you fix, scoring in the red zone. I think this is a winnable game. Give me Florida here. Final score, I'm going to go 20. I'm going to go 24-17. That's my final score. I think Florida's defense gets it done, and I think Florida's offense, we saw it last year. Elijah Badger went, I think, 6 for 120 or something. You can find explosive plays. Hopefully J Mike gets going deep, and we get a nice dub here to get us back on track a little bit.
Yeah, this one's so hard, man. It's funny, Dylan, because I was thinking 24-17 myself, but I was thinking the other way. History doesn't go against the Gators too well in this game. Every game that's been in Baton Rouge, Florida's just found a way to lose. LSU and Florida, when they play each other, the score is always close. There's hardly ever a blowout in this game. I think the last big blowout was back in like 2011 or so. So it's going to be a keep it close game, and I think it will. I think Florida will be able to get some pressure on the quarterback, and that LSU defense, especially what they did in the portal, having that number 1 portal class and loading up that backfield, it's a little bit scary. They got some portal additions there on their offensive line too as well. LSU, I mean, they've looked shaky offensively, but defensively, they've been playing lights out. That's what scares me against a stalling offense that you had against USF last week. And we're still trying to find that DJ Lagway of last year. And that's the scary part to me. Of course, now you have Jaden Ball, who can run the ball. Maybe he creates some sort of separation on that, the offensive line, and maybe he can get, running on the field and hopefully help out DJ Lagway a little bit. And maybe if Ball can really take it to him in the trenches and our offensive line can really do well, I think Florida will have a chance in this game. I think this score is really, really close. The red zone offense really concerns me as well, especially with that LSU defense. I just think that defensively, LSU has the advantage, and I think offensively, it's kind of a pick 'em right now. I mean, Nussmeier hasn't really looked impressive. Lagway's looked a little bit shaky. Florida has them beat wide receiver wise. They've got weapons all over the field, but I think this game can be won by Florida on special teams. Vernell Brown III is electric. This kid is super acceleration fast. He runs an even 4.3. His acceleration is crazy. He can change direction with a stop of the dime, and he changes direction going forward. He doesn't change direction like Kadarius Toney. He changes direction like Vernell Brown III, and he burns you once that direction is changed. So I think Florida does get like a special teams touchdown, or they get like a special teams good field position, and I think Florida will score on that. But Barry Brown, he scares me too, returning kicks. We've seen Florida have trouble against Barry Brown in the past when he was at Kentucky. And look, I just think that LSU will win based defensively on talent, but I also think that Florida can win this game as well. And it is in Baton Rouge, and there's 103,000 screaming fans in that stadium. I'm going LSU, Florida. I'm doing the 24-17, but I'm picking LSU over Florida. But please, 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 Florida, prove me wrong.
I hate this too myself. It's hurting me to say this, but I think Billy Napier has to prove me that he can get the monkey off the back. I've been thinking about this all afternoon, saying, can Trey Smack win it for us? But is Billy going to put Trey Smack in position to win it for us? Or are we going to see more of the vanilla and more of the predictable offense? And is he going to give Jaden Ball the ball enough to run that ball? It's breaking me. But I think it's going to be LSU 24-21.
Only one with faith over here. Disappointed in you guys.
All right, guys, where can they find your work? I know Dave does some great work for High Top Sports. Dave, it's been an honor to have you on the show. Do not leave after the show so I can give you some information. And I want you back on the show whenever you're free. We'll work around your schedule.
Okay.
So,
yeah, this works.
Where can they find your work, Dave?
Well, I'm definitely not going to be on the front of Time Magazine anytime soon, but you can find my work at hightopsport.com. We have some news. We have some little articles going on there. We actually added somebody by the name of David Howard, Florida Sports Takes on X. He's a really good dude, can really write really well. You can also find us on High Top Sports on YouTube. Just look for the Flying Pig. We pretty much practically do shows almost every day now since it's the season, but during the off season, we have shows every Monday, Wednesday, and sometimes we'll throw in a call-in show here and there during the week. So just check us out there on High Top Sports, and then you can follow me on X at High Top Dave.
Where can they find your work, buddy?
Yes, sir.
We talk on a regular basis. So
yeah, you guys probably heard it all before, but you can find me over at Florida Gators on SI with, my boy Cam Parker. And I would say definitely go check out High Top Sports. Fun fact, that's where I started writing, my early career.
That's where he got his wings.
Yeah, you got to love him there. So go check that out. Go check out Florida Gators on SI, and we appreciate, all the support.
Hey, special shout out to Dylan, Cam's boss right here, man. He does a great job.
Don't let Cam going to be mad at me.
Guys, I appreciate Dave. I consider Dave now a friend. And I consider Shelton a friend, even though he's very busy and he's about to have a second kid, and I haven't been able to gravitate him over to the show, but I'll eventually grab him during the season, hopefully.
Well, he would have picked Florida today if you had him on the show.
Well, he's a Disney Gator. What do we expect?
We picked the wrong High Top guy to come on, is what
I know, man. I'm Dr. Evil of High Top, man. I'm the old guy.
All right, guys. Like I say always, stay positive, stay on your grind, and go Gators. Peace.